So I have been receiving a massive amount of comments on my iPad Pro 11 iPadOS video that I posted a couple days ago, and I just want to say thank you so much for all the viewership, the likes, the subscriptions, the compliments, the encouragement. It just really helps me as a creator and encourages me to do more and to be a better creator on this platform. So thank you so much for that. But anyway, of those comments, a ton of them were questions, great ones and specific ones at that, and I thought a dedicated video would do them justice. So before we continue here, I'd really appreciate it once again if you leave a like on this video and a comment. It really helps to gain favor with the algorithm and helps me out immensely, so I'd really appreciate that. So yeah, without further ado, let's address some of your questions. Alright, so the first question asks, is the multitasking more intuitive with iPadOS? And it absolutely is. Although the split screen is not so much different from previous versions, it is improved because you can have two instances of apps open, and you also have that carousel view, which is super easy to initiate. You just drag an app to one of the sides of the screen and it'll just pop up. You can swipe them in and out. You can swipe through the apps like you would on like an iPhone. It's very easy to use. And I know there's a bunch of gestures in iPadOS that are like new and like kind of crazy, but with multitasking, it's very easy to initiate once again and just very easy to use in my experience. The second question asks, can you do a full review of iPadOS on the iPad Air 2? Yes, I can, and I did. I posted a video on that yesterday. It's really interesting. Even if you don't own the device, I highly recommend watching it. The iPad Air 2 is a hell of a device. The A8X in there really holds its own all these years later, and it's just a beast. And if you own the device, I highly recommend watching that video because it'll show you what you're missing out on, what features you're going to get, and just how the operating system runs on that device all these years later. The fourth question asks, is it worth it to upgrade to iPadOS beta? Thanks in advance. So I got several questions like this. Yeah, I think it's worth it right now. It's in the public stage, so it's not totally unstable. There are some things that I do notice that are weird, like some of the, like scaling is sometimes off, and like the resolution sometimes gets kind of weird. It might look a little bit pixelated from time to time, but it's like little flashes and weird stuff. But it's totally usable for everyday things. I guess there's going to be some apps that aren't going to work, like some games that I downloaded don't work, but for everyday tasks, like Apple apps and like Gmail and like well-known applications that you might be using, it's totally worth upgrading to. It's worth the experience in the dark mode and just the different features that I've mentioned in my previous video. Yeah, it's pretty stable, and I recommend upgrading to it if you're so inclined. It's not going to be perfect, but it's definitely usable in my first-hand experience. The fifth question asks, how did you get it for $669 new? So I did explain this in the beginning of my iPadOS video. I went to Micro Center, and if you are blessed enough to live around one of those, they sell electronics for like the best prices ever. Now, to get out there, it's kind of a schlep. I have to like drive 40 minutes to get there, but it was totally worth it. So they have insane deals there. They're actually selling the iPad Pro 11, the one that I got, for $719 right now, I think. So that's also an insane deal. It's like 80 bucks off the original MSRP that Apple's selling it for. But yeah, just look around for just different deals. You might find one on some site or just a storefront like that. But yeah, Micro Center is great. I highly recommend checking them out and driving over to them if you have any big electronic purchases that you're wanting to make in the future. All right, the sixth question's kind of long. It asks, as a student with a Windows laptop, would you recommend getting the 11-inch or the 12.9-inch iPad Pro? I'm also thinking about getting Logitech's keyboard case for the iPad Pro, but I'm having second thoughts as well. Any help will be greatly appreciated. Great question. I was actually having this conversation with Canoopsy. He's another tech YouTuber on the platform. Check him out. But yeah, I was talking to him about this, and I'm like, what size should I get, And he's like, don't get the 12.9. Everybody that I know who got the 12.9 is just too big. It's kind of cumbersome. And he had both, and he said that the 11-inch is super portable. So I trusted him on that, and I got a great deal for my 11-inch, as you saw. And it's just super nice. It's like just the right size. It's not too big. And even when I went to the Apple store, and I recommend you do that still, don't take all my word for it. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. You got to kind of go to the store and experience it for yourself. The 12.9-inch is like holding a TV. It's massive. It's huge. The 11-inch is definitely big, but it's not too big to the point where it feels like you're just hauling this like picture frame around with you wherever you go. So I recommend getting the 11-inch. You can find better deals on it, and yeah, I think it's just a better size, more portable. Definitely, you can get all the same accessories, the Apple Pencil, the keyboard case from Apple, everything. It's just more, I don't know, usable on the go. So yeah, that's my recommendation, but I do recommend going to the store to kind of confirm which size you like better. I also did hear that the Logitech case that you're talking about is really great. I heard that, or got recommended that several times when I went to Micro Center. I think it has the Pro connector, so you don't have to charge it. I might be wrong, but the Apple case is also nice too. It's a little bit more expensive, I think. But yeah, I mean, just watch some video reviews. I think you'll find the right one. Apple's cases are not as protective. Logitech's might be a little bit more, so I can't really recommend one to you. I haven't used either of them, but I will say that I've heard great things about both of them. So just watch some reviews, like I said, and I think you'll find the right case. The next question asks, and I'm not even going to keep up with the numbers. I actually forgot what number we're on. This guy asked, which storage size did you get and would recommend? I'm thinking about getting one as a laptop replacement in high school, but also would do some video editing and messing around in GarageBand with it. I would be fine using external drives, but I wouldn't want to feel cramped for app space. I think 256 is fine. 512 might be better for you. That gives you enough wiggle room to have a lot of, video files and just whatever on there. It's a little bit more expensive, but yeah, I mean, 512 is plenty. 256 is great. I think 64 is not enough for what you want to be doing. 64 is more for like you're just doing like web-based stuff like I am, like just like typing documents up and like responding to emails and whatever. But for more storage, I would say go 256 or 512 if you're so inclined. The next question asks, so would you say could replace a MacBook Pro for simple day-to-day tasks? I would say yes and no. If you're someone who's willing to work with this, use the Apple Pencil, use a keyboard case, you can absolutely make it work. And I'm trying to make it work, and it's been really fun, responding to emails, typing up documents, taking notes. It's a really fun experience. But if you're someone who is super reliant on a keyboard and just likes a trackpad more and just prefers macOS more and the file system on there, because at the end of the day, a Mac is going to be more useful in some ways than an iPad Pro, then go with the Mac or a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air. You still can't go wrong with either, I think. But yeah, it all kind of comes down to preference and your willingness to use more of a, mobile platform. Because like, even though iPadOS is amazing and has increased the overall utility with iPad Pro, MacBook still kind of wins at the end of the day, especially like with video editing, with like Final Cut. Obviously, we don't have Final Cut with the iPad Pro right now. But yeah, I mean, for simple everyday tasks, you can definitely make an iPad Pro work for sure. And it's a cheaper alternative too. And once again, like I said in my last video, it's very fun to use. The next question asks, hi, I really need to know if there's any possibility to batch edit photos. I'm a photographer and this is the only thing that keeps me from buying this device. Thanks. So by batch edit, if you mean like just editing a bunch of photos at once, you can use Lightroom. There's like a full version of Lightroom pretty much you can download for iPad. It's great. It's pretty much the same thing you can get on the Mac. You get the Apple Pencil support is great. You can do like the selective adjustments and every adjustment you can do with the Lightroom app on Mac or Windows or whatever, like I said. And yeah, photo editing is definitely possible and professional on the iPad Pro. And also Photoshop is coming for iPad Pro as well. So if you are talking about layers or multiple layers or whatever, then I would get the iPad Pro if you're so inclined. I mean, it's a great device. Apple Pencil, once again, makes photo editing really nice. You get a fine point adjustment or a fine point input with that. And yeah, you can totally edit photos on here or edit batch photos like you said. So the next question asks, so you have an iPad, MacBook, and iMac. Isn't that too much and throwing money away, I think you're saying? So I got my MacBook Pro like a couple years ago for high school, and I got my iMac for work, and I got this for school. So, I mean, I'm a tech enthusiast, I'm a tech reviewer, so I love technology, and like, I want to buy it and kind of have to buy it to kind of keep this YouTube thing going on. So I guess for most people, yeah, that would be kind of a waste of money. But for my case, I mean, I use my MacBook for school, and we'll use it for school typing up papers, whatever. I use it for Audacity recording. I use it for other creative purposes like Lightroom and Photoshop. And I also use this for school, and I use my iMac for Final Cut Pro editing. So I make use of all my devices pretty much. So I guess in my case, it's not a waste of money, but for most people, it probably would be. The next question is similar to one that I was already asked, but I thought it was really good and I wanted to read it anyway. How stable is the public beta? I've been gradually shifting my on-the-go workflow from my MacBook Pro to my iPad Pro, and as such, I'm hugely excited for the release of iPadOS for all the reasons you list. I'm now debating just jumping in on the public beta, but knowing it's a beta, I'm worried about stability since, like I said, I'm already relying on it for daily workflow. Is it stable enough that the benefits you describe are worth the beta risk now, or should I hold off? So it seems like you do professional work, you're not just doing like media consumption and just like some like general note taking or whatever. If you make money using your iPad Pro, I don't think I would upgrade because there might be an app that you need to use that might not work. So I would just stick with iOS 12 right now. If you're good with that, just, stick with it. If this involves your job, I would not risk using a beta. I would definitely not install macOS Catalina on my iMac because I rely on that for my work every day with Final Cut. So if you're a professional, don't upgrade to the beta. I would advise you not to do that because once again, your pro apps, the apps that you use to make a living, might not work well or work as well with the public beta. So I would wait for the final release just to play it safe. Here's another question that's similar to something I've already been asked, but I wanted to address it anyway. 12.9 inch was too large or wasn't an option? I can see the larger variant being able to replace a laptop for most things for most people. What I have to say to that is like, if you're not using like the iPad Pro for drawing or like really making use of the Apple Pencil, I don't really see the big need to buy the 12.9 inch. I mean, if you want that humongous display and the bigger keyboard, then by all means do that. But I think the 11 inch can suffice for most people. I mean, I've been using the 13 inch MacBook Pro for a while, 13-inch, 12.9-inch, similar size screen. If you're just doing emails and typing up documents and just doing note-taking, the 11-inch is big enough and it has greater portability as well, so I would recommend that. Once again, like I said in my previous addressing of a question like this, I would say the 11-inch is perfectly fine, but once again, if you're doing things like that involve drawing and just like a bunch of like video editing and photo editing, like professional work, then maybe the 12.9-inch might be worth it for you. And the last question says, can you copy files from the iPad to the SD card, external HDD, or just from the SD card, external HDD to iPad? I'm going to be honest with you, I actually don't know that. I haven't been really successful with the beta, like the adapter that I bought and my SD card haven't been really working out. But if you can copy data to the iPad, I'm pretty sure you can copy data to the drive connected to it. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. I'll look up an article on that at this moment. I don't know, and I'd rather not sit here and lie and pretend like I do, but I'm fairly certain you can do that, like export a video to it or copy it over to your external storage, because the Files app allows you to interact with the inside of like a folder on an external drive. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. If you can, I'll leave a correction here. And yeah, that about wraps this video up. I hope this video helped you out. Thank you so much for all the questions and the comments I've received. It's really great to interact with you guys. And once again, interaction with my channel, anything you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, or commenting, really helps me gain favor with the algorithm. So any of that is much appreciated. I really appreciate it once again if you leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions or suggestions or an opinion, and subscribe for more content like this. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.